Hey everybody, it's Geekopolis here. So, I want to talk about a theory of the Episode 9 in the upcoming Star Wars movie. And what it could be, what can be the development, what can be the use of the characters, and how they can course correct. Okay? So, this is what I would do if I was Disney. These are the things that need to happen with this movie for it to be salvageable. Okay? So I'm going to take this movie in 3 acts and talk about what needs to happen in those 3 acts. You know, standard 3-act movie. Now, even me, someone who absolutely despises, hates with a passion The Last Jedi because of what it has done to the franchise. I'm going to try and think of ways to fix that. Fix everything wrong with that movie, and fix everything wrong with The Force Awakens, and how we can have a Star Wars movie that works. And these are the things that need to be addressed. And these are the things that would make even me, an absolute hater of that movie, come back on board if I were to see these things. Okay. Now, I'm going to say the absolute necessities first, and then I'll discuss the 3-act structure. The number one thing that I need to have addressed is that Holdo scene with the flying the Radists into the Supremacy with the light speed. I have been actually giving this some thought, how you can make that scene plausible. And here's what I came up with. I knew going into this would be a hard time, because no matter what I came up with would be sort of an ass pull. But this is the best thing that I can come up with to make it logical and, you know, have consistent sense within the world. What I came up with was that Holdo, I can't believe I'm going to have to do this with this character, because she's an absolute fucking horrible character. Holdo knew she was really smart with ships or something, okay? And she was the only person in the galaxy, let's say, that could rig the system to have a maximum velocity without exiting physical space, which allowed her to go through. And the reason they've never done that before is only she can come up with the calculations necessary. No droids can, no whatever. Only she can manipulate the ship, the code or whatever, something like that, into doing it. And that's why you'll never see it again. You'll never see it before. And you could say, in addition, that the Supremacy lowered its shields or something because they were arrogant, okay? Or whatever. Again, I get conflicting things on the shielding, but whatever. You know, something to really emphasize why it's never been done, why it'll never be done again. Say she is so gifted at, rearranging something or other, blah, 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 space sci-fi. You know? But what I'm getting at is something that only she could have done to, you know, I don't know, make the ship do what it did. And since she's dead, it's lost to time. And also make a point of saying this ship also had some really incredible device on it that, you know, also allowed it to do that. So, and she invented it or something, and without her knowledge, it's lost. Okay? That will at least make it manageable, where I can say, okay, well, that's not going to happen again, and at least they gave me a reason to why it happened, and why it's never been done. And it doesn't ruin space battles now, because you can't just do that now, every fucking time. So that has to be addressed. And that's, I think, the best way to do that. And they shouldn't do that in the first act. The very first act of the movie, that should be something they should address. They say, we need to get ships to beat them. Oh, why? And somebody should say, well, why don't we just do what we did before? and then someone explains why they can't do that. And it cannot be something that we don't waste lives. It cannot be that, because I will seriously get up and walk out of the theater. And I think anybody with a brain should. It has to be explained why it was done. And that, saying only she could have done it because she was able to do something with the ship, or she built something device that nobody knew about, that's the only way I can think of. And that would be satisfying enough to me where I can say, okay, at least, if nothing else in the movie is good, at least that was addressed. Because that, to me, is the most important part. You cannot have world-breaking things in a movie. It's like if you're watching Jaws and suddenly he starts flying in one scene and then just never does it the rest of the movie. It's like, we gonna talk about that? No? Okay. You know what I'm saying? You can't have these glaring problems. 2. Address why Luke did what he did. Okay? And this one's much more easier for me to describe. Snoke was using the Force, because we know Force users can manipulate dreams. Sidious did it with Anakin to get those visions of Padme dying. So it's possible. So have him be the ones putting the visions in both of their heads. You know? It really messed with him, and that's why he did it. Not because he felt, that there's evil in him. It's he was overcome by Snoke's power, and that's why he went to the island. To find out a way to protect himself from Snoke. But he didn't want anybody else to know. And that's why he cut himself off from the Force. So Leia can't try and track him down because he needs to figure this out, because he could be a danger to everybody else. And he also cut himself off so Snoke couldn't reach him. Okay? That I could at least believe. And then say he was going to return, but his ship was destroyed. And he had no way to communicate. You know? And you could say, why didn't he just reinitialize the Force? Okay? You could say maybe he needed somebody else with the Force to reconnect him. And that's where Rey would come in. Okay? You see, there is things you can do, but you have to actually put effort into thinking about them. So if that is what happened, okay, and you say, he went there because of that, and because of Snoke, that's what he, was compelled to almost kill Kylo or Ben Solo at that point, then you can say, okay, you know what, that's or at least reasonable enough, where it's not so offensive, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least with that, you can say, okay, this makes some modicum of sense. Even if, again, it's still stupid, because that's not what the character would do. And that's what a lot of the problem with this is I'm trying to correct for what the movie did wrong, but I shouldn't have to fix your movie. But that's not what I'm going to get into. I'm just saying what could happen and how it can be done better, or how they can fix some of the glaring issues with this movie. So that's how they can handle, Luke, or at least correcting why he did what he did and why his character became absolute shit, and how they can fix the ridiculous space battle. So now that those two things are out of the way, the biggest and most absolutely offensive things about those movies, it wouldn't kill you to also discuss why Leia was able to use the Force so proficiently in ways that has never been seen before, but it's not as important to me, because as much disservice as they did to her character, it wasn't to the degree in which this insulted Luke's. Now, let's talk about the 3-act structure. This movie, first of all, needs to take place after a time skip. So, what would be an appropriate amount of time? Okay. I want to say around a year or two. Because I think that should give enough time for Rey to get some actual training for the Resistance, or did they end up calling themselves the Rebellion in the end? Whatever, doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna say Resistance. The Resistance to get some form of army together, because they're, what, a handful of people left alive? So, you really take time and explain how they went from being almost nothing and how they were able to win over more people. You can have like a thing about how the First Order is so horrible and abusing people, it's rallying people to your side. Okay. And that's how you can do that. Second thing that has to happen in Act 1. You need to have Kylo beat Rey. I know, the Mary Sue can't lose, but you have to have her lose. She has to lose at least one time in this fucking saga, or else what's the point? Because if she does not lose in the first act, it makes everything else seem weak, because we already know she can beat Kylo. I mean, it's not like Rey's been proven to ever lose before. So have Rey lose, and have her be beaten bad. I mean, lose a limb bad. She needs to get her ass kicked, so then she can have a character arc. Something these movies have not given her whatsoever. After she loses, she can then learn from it. That she's not unbeatable. She's not perfect. And she'll need to actually do some more training. Hardcore training. And that's when you can bring the ghost of Luke back. God, I hate that I have to even say that. The ghost of Luke instead of, Luke himself. But that's where we are. And have him actually train her. Okay? I think that would be at least a respectful send-off to the character. At least make him useful in the end. Now, that would be the second act, where she's going through her training, and I'm sure that you want to do some subplots. So, what subplots can you do? Use the characters you have as almost a recruiting team, or a sabotaging team. Something that you'd use guerrilla warfare, like the old rebels used to do. Because that's what you're going to need to do, due to how small your forces are at this point. And that's going to be the subplot. Them trying to sabotage something, or do something that, actually matters. Not like they did with The Last Jedi, of course, where nothing actually mattered, and well, not nothing, actually worse than nothing. It did detriments. But, whatever. Then, once you have everything in motion, you can have the final act where Rey and Kylo fight. And then she can beat him, showing how much training she's done and why it matters. Give her some emotion. Give her some trials to show that she's not just perfect at everything every time. Make people want to actually cheer for her and not actively want to see her be defeated. Because at this point, if they don't change anything about her character and she doesn't lose and she doesn't go through a freaking character arc, I want to see Kylo kill her. I really do. Because she doesn't have any personality. I mean, again, I agree with her moral philosophy, to be good for goodness sake. Yeah, that's great, but you're missing the point of a character. Most people are not perfect. Granted, most people aren't, psychotic murderers like Kylo, but still, it's it's just difficult for me to really resonate with a character like her. And it has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. It has to do with the fact that she is so perfect at everything. And the difference between her and, say, Luke or Anakin, that are these chosen ones, and they're really gifted with the Force and really powerful, they had to go through a lot to get that strong. And they still lost at times. Again, both of them don't have a hand. Vader was mostly a machine by the time he died. So, it's not like these guys have never faced defeat. What was the worst thing that happened with Rey? Her parents left her? I mean, really? Do I need to remind you, Luke seeing his aunt and uncle that raised him get, murdered? Their bodies were turned to skeletons? I'm gonna go on a limb and tell you that's probably a little more traumatic. But, whatever. Anyways, you have to make this movie something that the people that are watching you can invest themselves in, and not just be like, okay, so she's gonna beat this guy. She already beat him, she saved him, and that's it. And for the love of God, please, 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 do not let these fangirls or fanboys get their way and get the Reylo thing. Please don't do it. Please don't. Because that would be so stupid. I mean, there is already a mountain of idiocy in this movie, or in these movies so far. If you do the whole Reylo thing where they get together as a couple, oh my god, just don't. I don't even want to humor the idea, but I got to. If they do that, I'm not sure what message they're trying to send. I mean, I would imagine it would be something along the line of, even bad guys can become good. So, just rip off the ending of the episode 6. Or, if you kill him, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he was the only guy with character in the whole thing, so I guess it's a little bit sad, but also that ends any Skywalkers, because they fucked up and they didn't have Luke have his children, and Leia have, and Han have the rest of theirs, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Again, it's not technically canon, but I've always considered that stuff to be as like a natural continuation, whatever. So that is the arcs that need to happen in this movie. Those are the points that most need to be addressed. There's a bunch of other things that I can go over, where it's, what characters, like, say, like, the more side characters, like Finn and Poe would have to do to improve their characters and such. But I just want to talk about the main points. Rey, Kylo, Luke, and that ship battle, which is the things that, the two things that really bothered me, and the two things that need to be addressed going forward. So, if they can at least manage those things, I mean, it's 4 things, it shouldn't be that fucking difficult, then they can have a at least successful movie. And as long as they don't do anything else stupid. I mean, this is all predicated on them not fucking up again. I mean, this can very easily go in the opposite direction and go really bad. I don't think they're going to do that twice in a row. God, I hope not. But we'll see. We'll see. But that is how I would say you need to do. I mean, that's not even like what I want them to do. That is what you need to do. This is not like my wish list. This is if you do not do this, your movies will not make sense. Because you can't just, say things and then expect your movie to be acceptable. Like, oh, yeah, we could just lightspeed our ships into things now. Or, yeah, 3 movies worth of character development, doesn't matter, because things, no. Give them reasons, explain things, and I'll be happy. and the rest of the fans will be happy. And don't boil your characters down to identity over substance. I would much appreciate that. And please be consistent with the world building. It's not that hard to hire somebody to say, to look through your script and say, oh, that doesn't match with the lore of the world or the universe. So be diligent, Disney. You're a multi-billion-dollar company. I think you can afford a quick fact checker. Anyways, that's my take on what they need to do for episode 9. I am not too hopeful that they'll do it, but we'll see. Anyways, if you liked it, then please give me a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you really enjoyed it and thought those were some good ideas and didn't mind my clunky delivery, please share it around. Alright then, Geekopolis out.